Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome to Lady Khadija radiallahu anha online college. May God be pleased with her. Today's lesson is more on trig equations, solving trig equations, where you have to try and involve some of the double angle formulas that we've learnt. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you're following through in the book, it's the Pearson Excel UK book, and it's example 10 in chapter 7. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Let's begin with the equation. It's solve for cos theta minus 30 degrees. That's one side of the equation. And on the other side of the equation, we have 8 root 2 sine theta. 8 root 2 sine theta. And we want to solve it for the range, theta range 0 to 360. Bismillah. So have a look at the equation and try to think of what's going to help you here. We've got cos on one side, we've got sine on the other, and with the cos we've got brackets, and so there's two angles in here. So straight away you should be thinking of your cos double angle formula. So that's the straightforward one is k cos A plus B is equal to cos A cos B minus sine A sine B. This time we don't want the plus version, so we want the minus version. So the formula stays the same, but we're just going to have a different sign in the middle. So cos A minus B is equal to cos A cos B plus sine A sine B. So that's a formula that's going to help us expand that out or rewrite that. So let's see what it looks like. We'll have 4 will stay as 4. Okay, but then we've got, being multiplied by, let's split this out now. So it's going to be cos A cos B. So cos theta cos 30. And then here's the minus, so we're going to have a plus in the formula. And then the rest of the formula is sine A sine B. So in this case, sine theta sine 30. And then comes the equal sign and the 8 root 2 sine theta, which we're not going to change. Nothing to change there. So we can just write that as equals 8 root 2 sine theta. All we did was split out, rewrite the cos theta minus 30 using that long formula at the bottom. Okay, now we can multiply it by the 4, so it becomes 4 times cos theta cos 30 and 4 times sine theta sine 30. So let's do that. So we've got 4 being timesed through. Next part, sine theta sine 30 gets times by 4 as well. If you can think of a quicker way, use a quicker way. There is actually a quick way to do this, but I'll just do it the slow way here. So I've just expanded out the 4. And then again, the right hand side doesn't change. So now let's see what we can get rid of. Everything seems to have an 8 or a 4 at the beginning, so we can divide through by 4. So dividing this by 4, that cancels. Dividing this by 4, that cancels. And dividing the 8 by 4, that becomes 2. So you get 2 root 2. And then you want to remember that it's only the theta that's the unknown. Sine 30 is actually known, cos 30 is actually known. You can type that into a calculator. Sine 30 is just going to be a half, so we can just replace that with 0.5 or just a fraction, a half. Probably better to put that at the beginning. So let's have we can get rid of the 4 that's being crossed out. So we can have the half at the beginning. And then similarly, if you type in cos 30, that's not an unknown. That will give you a number or a fraction. In this case, the cos 30 works out to be root 3 over 2. You can use the decimal if you want, but it's just easier to stick with a fraction. So root 3 over 2, and just like we did with the half, probably easier to put that at the beginning. Okay, looking good. So where do we go from here? Probably collect the sine thetas. So if I take the half sine theta to the other side, just before I do that, these fractions are getting in the way. So let's times everything by 2. That way I can get rid of that divide by 2. So times by 2, times by 2, and times this by 2. So that will become 4. That will just become 1, and that can disappear since the 1 doesn't make any difference. That'll be root 3 cos theta. So now try and collect like terms. We've got cos theta plus sine theta, but the sine theta can go to the other side where the other sine theta is. So let's take that to the other side, and it becomes a minus sine theta. Then we can factorize it out. So factorize it to the beginning. So we'll have equals 4, so sine theta at the beginning can be factorized, brought to the front. And so inside the brackets, we'll have for the first term 4 root 2. And then for the second term, we've brought sine theta to the front, so there's just a minus 1 left. The left-hand side hasn't changed, so we can just copy that. Okay, good. So now comes a very important trick that you want to learn. You've got sine theta and cos theta in the same equation. And if you can get one divided by the other, the sine divided by the cos, then that'll turn into tan. So sine divided by the cos, that will turn into tan. And we might as well get all the number parts together. So the 4 root 2 minus 1 can go to the other side as a divide. Don't need the brackets anymore. And the trick I want to use is that sine theta over cos theta can be replaced with tan theta. We've come across that a couple of times. So we can replace sine theta over cos theta by tan theta. That way we can inverse tan it now. Before we can't really inverse sine it or inverse cos it because there's 2 of them. So now we've got it down to just one trig ratio, the tan. We can now inverse tan that. So just grab a calculator and type that in. Let me just grab my calculator. Okay, so if you want to just inverse tan that, you should get theta is equal to So you type that whole fraction in, press inverse tan, and you'll get 20.4. And that's your first answer. We want all the answers going up to 360. So to get the next answer on tan, you just add 180, and that'll take you to 200.4. Okay, quite a few steps there, so just see how much of that we can just replay. Okay, so the first thing was we noticed that we had a sine theta, but we also had a cos expression, and the cos expression was made up of two angles. So straight away we're thinking of our cos double angle formula, the one with the minus in the middle, because that's a minus. So that's the formula there, cos A cos B plus sine A sine B. So we use that formula to rewrite the cos theta minus 30. The 4 can stay at the front, but the cos theta minus 30 can change to cos theta cos 30 plus sine theta sine 30. Then the right hand side stays the same, 8 root 2 sine theta. And then it's a question of just trying to simplify as much as possible to get as much of it cancelled and removed as you can to get a simple equation. So the first thing we tried to do was just change the cos 30 and the sine 30 with whatever fraction the calculator gives you. So cos 30 was root 3 over 2, sine 30 was just a half. And then we're thinking, okay, divide everything by 4. So that made this 8 become a 2. And then this over 2's, we're just trying to get rid of that now by timesing everything by 2. So that gets rid of those two. We have to times everything by 2, so on the right hand side, this 2 will turn into a 4. Then the next thing is try and get like terms. So sine theta can go on to the same side as the other sine theta. That means we can factorize it to the beginning of brackets, and then we've got sine theta on one side, cos theta on the other, and the trick is to get sine theta over cos theta to turn that into tan theta. So you'll have tan theta is this fraction, and then you can inverse tan that to get your first and second answer. The first answer from the calculator, to get the second answer, just add 180. Join me again more next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you and the mercy and blessings of God.